So, as those with a little bit of military knowledge will likely grasp, the origins of the ODSTs are in the paratroopers of our time, troops that would drop in from the sky and tactically insert themselves behind enemy lines to conduct spec ops missions of all varieties, from target acquisition and scouting to setting up ambushes for triggering when forces later arrived. The ODSTs that we know and love continue these traditions. As noted on Bungie.net's old official ODST page from back in the day, they carry out highly specialised, small-scale, high-risk operations, such as deep ground surveillance, direct action, unconventional warfare, counter-terrorism operations, counter-contraband operations, and personal and special equipment recovery. These specific tasks make them as elite as you can get, without becoming a Spartan of course, and even then, it's arguable that some ODSTs do conduct operations that even a Spartan would be incapable of doing to the same standard. The ODSTs first saw use under the issue of the United Nations in 2129, referred to then as the Drop Jet Platoons, the first wave of ODSTs. However, the iconic ODST name first came into action just over 30 years later, in 2163, following the official formation of the United Nations Space Command and also its Marine Corps, which were bodies that were separate from Earth's national military bodies. These were very contentious times in the Halo universe. The dangerous hand of communism was posing a threat once again, with neo-communists rising up in backlash of the UN's push of capitalism across the stars. This communist group, known as the Kozloviks, held a final stand on Mars in December of 2163. It was here the UNSC would first test out their new Marine Corps in extraterrestrial deployment. This, of course, involving the new orbital drop shock troopers. However, at this time, they weren't identical or actually that similar to the ODSTs that we know and love now. Rather, they were just specialised marines that would drop from orbit into battle. It's a likely assumption that as the years progressed, as with any military unit or piece of hardware, they went through several evolutions and upgrades until they reached roughly the stage that we know them at now. These orbital marines performed lightning attacks on the Kozloviks, leading to a decisive victory, reclaiming Mars from the neo-communists and also establishing military doctrine for years to come. However, following the finale of the Interplanetary War, the battle that followed on from the Mars skirmishes, the ODSTs would see very little use. More pressing matters such as famine and overpopulation saw the oversized military as surplus to requirement, and with no real imminent threat to the species at the time, there was no real use for such a large number of troops for humanity. And in what Halo history is documented, that would be their last major use for almost 300 years until the outbreak of one of the bloodiest wars humanity would ever face, wars against themselves, the Insurrection. Over the first 30 years or so, they only really saw upgrades and enhancements, and conducted high-risk operations, as described earlier, against the rebels to try and sabotage their imminent attacks on members or even supporters of the United Earth Government, a globalist government on Earth of whom they were at war against. One of their most notable deployments was on the planet Jericho 7, the birthplace of Jameson Locke, and one of the earliest colonies to be attacked by the Covenant. On the planet, the ODST's 10th Shock Troops Battalion were deployed directly on top of insurrectionist bases, being deployed on the planet for over 131 days. After a long but successful mission, the same battalion were redeployed to Arcadia with the same objective, then to Andesia a year later to eliminate prominent insurrectionist strongholds, a mission that would see quite a few casualties within the unit. And aside from the battles on Andesia, that's the origins of the ODSTs prior to the Human Covenant War. If you hadn't noticed, there has been a distinct lack of ODSTs in Halo since Reach, and today I thought I'd explain why that's the case, because ODSTs are a fan favourite aspect of Halo to many, and to a lot of people they are considered quite iconic, and many people as well, myself included, really miss the more grounded soldiers, things that aren't Spartans, the sort of between Spartans and Marines. People like me really miss that in Halo. So today I thought I would talk about What's happened to the ODSTs since the end of the Human Covenant War? So that means I'll be covering what's happened to them from 2552 to 2559. So, following the Human Covenant War, as we know, the Spartan 4 program was kickstarted, and unlike the two previous iterations of the program, the Spartan 4 program was accepting consenting individuals from all branches of the UNSC, from veterans to trainees who showed any potential. So this time, they weren't just kidnapping kids, they were actually asking people to join the program. As you can expect, ODSTs fall under this recruitment umbrella, and so there were likely a large number of ODSTs recruited to become Spartan 4s. The two most notable ODSTs who became recruits are probably the fan favourite I Thought You'd Be Taller Sarah Egghead Palmer and the actually legendary Edward Buck. In January of 2553, Sarah Palmer was recruited by June after sustaining significant injuries from a needler while attempting to rescue Admiral Kovalik from a failed extraction. Here she showed her combat prowess, taking down a brute chieftain on her own, which was a major factor for June scouting her out, along with her notable leadership abilities. Palmer was one of the first Spartan 4s to be stationed on board the UNSC Infinity, actually transferring to it while it was still in the late stages of development. Buck was originally scouted to be a part of the first batch of Spartan 4s too. In February of 2553, June attempted to recruit him while he was on a vacation with Dare, but he declined, which made him one of the first potential Spartan 4s to decline an offer. His reasoning for declining was that he didn't want to abandon Alpha 9, his ODST squad, and also that he didn't want to leave Dare behind. Okay, so we're getting into spoiler territory now. If you haven't read Halo New Blood and don't want to know what happened to Alpha 9 following ODST, then I would skip to the time on screen right now. Alrighty then, so in 2554, Buck and Alpha 9 went to Draco 3 to try and curb an insurrectionist force that were trying to take control of the planet. After storming their main building, their entrance was blocked, and Rookie was sent by Buck to go and secure an exit. However, in doing so, Captain Ingridson of the insurrectionists captured Rookie and held him at gunpoint. Alpha 9 managed to surround Ingridson, and when she realised that there was no chance she was getting out alive, she sadly executed the Rookie before being killed by Dutch. After Rookie's funeral, Dutch ended up retiring out of grief, and June attempted to recruit Buck again. However, Buck reaffirmed his choice not to become a Spartan, until June told him about the increased funding for the program, which would alleviate many of his problems. It would allow Alpha 9 to become Spartan 4s with him, meaning he wouldn't have to leave them behind. This then caused Buck to cave in and become a Spartan 4, almost a year after Sarah Palmer. As a part of the Spartan 4 program, specific ODST variants of the Mjolnir Gen 2 suit were created, with Buck using the ever-so-iconic Helljumper variant, more reminiscent of the classic ODST helmet that we know from Halo 3 and also Halo Reach. So that's how the two most notable ODSTs became Spartans, but what about the rest of ODSTs who either declined the offer or just didn't choose to join up? Are there any ODST squads left? Well, contrary to popular belief, yes, there are. ODSTs still do exist. Now, it's no conspiracy theory that the mainstreaming of Spartan 4s did make them less prevalent, but they are definitely still in active use. For example, the Battle of Dratheus 5 in 2554, which is present in Halo Spartan Assault, had 3rd Platoon deployed onto Dratheus' moon, X-50. After suffering significant losses, Spartan Davis rescued them and helped them in their original goal, to secure a landing zone for 2nd Platoon. Now, if memory serves me well, which I think it does, or at least I hope it does, it was Halo Escalation Issue 3, where it was confirmed that ODSTs are indeed present on the Infinity as of 2558. Now, here's to hoping that we actually see them in action in Halo 6, or hell, even Marines in action. That's one of the many departments that Halo 5 was seriously lacking in. Fighting alongside something lower than you sort of plays into that power fantasy, and it makes you feel even more important. That's an aspect of Halo that is really missing for me, but anyways, that's a topic for an entirely different video. Let's get back to the ODSTs. The Spirit of Fire also has ODSTs stationed on it too, as we know. They used the Halo 2 version of the ODST helmet, which doesn't have a definite name unlike the other variants, but it may be down to their tech being obviously out of date and old, considering they were drifting through space for like 28, 29 years, was it? So they're not exactly using the most up-to-date gear. The Spirit of Fire deployed these ODSTs to fight against the Banished on the Ark in 2559, and will likely continue to use them as that fight continues, considering it didn't end at the end of Halo Wars 2. Another cliffhanger! Oh boy! So that's it. We sadly don't have all that much information surrounding their post-war activities. What I talked about in this video is pretty much it. However, they are definitely still in use. Yeah, many likely did become Spartan 4s, and I would hazard a guess that their numbers are definitely lower than in the Human Covenant War, but there are still platoons out there, and they haven't been rendered totally obsolete by Spartans either. ODSTs fill a very nice niche little role, meaning that there's always going to be a place for them in the UNSC, along with their iconic armour. Halo 3 ODST tells a deeply soulful story that ping-pongs between heavily contrasting emotions. One minute you're experiencing very traditional Halo, brash tones of heroism, courage and badassery.
Good hunting, boys. I'm keeping my boots on the ground.
And then the next you're plunged into an atmosphere of desolation and isolation, overwhelmed by feelings of loss and loneliness through the eyes of the rookie. My heart will always belong to Halo 2, but ODST has arguably the most uniquely told story in all of Halo. But there's so much more beneath the surface of its story than most realise. In fact, the story itself is heavily based upon the Divine Comedy, a narrative poem about a journey through the afterlife that was written in 1321 by Italian writer and poet Dante Alighieri. Specifically, Halo 3 ODST is based upon Dante's Inferno, the first part of his Divine Comedy in which Dante descends through the 9 circles of hell, each more horrific and disturbing than the last. Halo's story has been deeply rooted in biblical writings ever since its inception, and a few months ago when I was joined by Wendigoon to discuss just that, I had so many comments asking me to make a dedicated video about how ODST ties into Dante's Inferno. And well, today we're doing that very video. I've done a ton of research for this video, from reading pages and pages of excerpts and summaries of Dante's Inferno, and I also watched Isaiah's excellent breakdown of the Inferno as well, and I gotta say, I genuinely think that this is the most fascinating topic that I've ever covered on the channel. And I can promise you that by the end, you are gonna look at ODST's story under a radically different light in the best way possible. But before we look at its specific ties to ODST, I need to give you all a brief rundown on Dante's Inferno itself, so that you understand all of the analogies, the references and connections that Bungie wove into everybody's favourite smooth jazz shock trooper depression simulator. So, it was written by Dante Alighieri, who was a 14th century Italian poet and a writer and a philosopher, among many other things, who also just so happens to be the main protagonist of the story. Dante's Inferno is just the first part of Dante's larger story called the Divine Comedy, which details his journey through all the elements of the afterlife, through hell, purgatory, and then eventually heaven. It opens shortly before the dawn of Good Friday, where Dante finds himself lost, wandering through a dark wood, and his way becomes blocked by several beasts, each beast representing a different category of sin. By the dawn of Good Friday, these beasts drive him back into the darkness of the woods, where he's rescued by a figure called Virgil, said to be a shade of the Roman poet of the same name. Virgil was sent by a woman named Beatrice, the symbol of divine love, and after some hesitation, on the evening of Good Friday, Dante chooses to follow him, and the two begin their descent into hell. But before reaching hell itself, they pass through what's called the vestibule of hell, which is almost its precursor, in which the souls of opportunists and those who took no sides in life reside. These souls weren't sinners per se, but they were the uncommitted who were neither good nor evil, rather were just solely committed to themselves. Dante and Virgil then take a ferry across the river Acheron into Hell itself, where their descent truly begins. So in the Inferno, Hell is visualized as 9 concentric circles that descend down into the center of Hell, where Satan himself resides. Each level is dedicated to a sin and houses the souls of those who committed each respective sin in their mortal lives, where they're punished for eternity in a way that befits their crime. So, for example, those who committed the sin of violence against another are submerged in a river of boiling blood and fire to represent the fact that, of course, they spent their entire lives wallowing in the blood of others. And also, as the levels descend, the sins that they correspond to get worse and worse. So, the first circle is Limbo, in which the souls of the unbaptized and the unbelievers reside, although this level isn't anywhere near as punishing as the other levels because the sin of not believing in Christ isn't enough to warrant eternal damnation. I mean, at one point, it was even said that Jesus himself came down to Limbo to rescue a number of souls and take them to heaven, so Limbo isn't this eternal hellfire like the other circles. Also, in each circle, Dante encounters familiar faces. Here, in Limbo for example, he finds the poet Homer, philosophers Aristotle, Socrates and Plato, the physician Hippocrates, and also many others. The second circle is Lust, and this is where the eternal punishments of being damned to hell truly begin. The carnal malefactors who reside here are condemned for allowing their appetites to sway their reason, and are tortured by an eternally raging violent storm. Circle 3 is Gluttony, in which sinners wallow in a great storm of rot and decay to punish them for their voracious appetite. Circle 4, Greed, is populated by those who hoarded, squandered, or simply just valued material goods far more than they should, aka most of modern humanity, and they're punished for these sins by eternally jousting one another, using large weights as weapons that they push with their chests. Circle 5 is Wrath, which is seen as the final circle of incontinence, which is how the circles 2 through 5 are described, the circles in which the sinners mostly sinned through extreme self-indulgence. This circle is also the river Styx, in which the souls are condemned to forever fight each other on the surface of this stinking swamp that forms the river, while the more passively wrathful are forced to lurk beneath the slime. Circle 6 is Heresy, which is where the real extreme punishments begin. Heretics condemned to the 6th circle are eternally trapped in flaming tombs. Circle 7 is Violence, broken down into 3 different kinds of violence. Violence against others, in which the sinners are drowned in a river of boiling blood and fire. Violence against self, in which sinners are turned into weak, thorny trees and gnawed at by harpies. And violence against God, art, and nature, in which sinners are tortured in a great plain of burning sand, scorched by flakes of flame falling slowly from the sky. Circle 8 is Fraud, and there are actually 10 regions of this circle for different kinds of fraudsters, some tortured by eternal marching and whipping by demons, some steeped in excrement, hacked and mutilated by a massive demon wielding a bloody sword, and even afflicted with various diseases alongside eternal stench, thirst, filth, darkness, and screaming. And the 9th circle, a huge frozen lake, is Treachery, where sinners find themselves trapped in the ice. At the bottom of this 9th circle, Dante and Virgil eventually reach the center of Hell, which is where Satan himself resides, bound into the ice. After which, the two eventually exit Hell via the southern hemisphere, emerging on the other side of the world, and the story ends, leading into Dante's Purgatorio, which is about his journey through Purgatory before his eventual journey through Heaven. And that's pretty much all you need to know for today's video. Of course, I didn't go fully in-depth because I'm not a biblical lore channel. Yet. But if you do want to see a video that goes really in-depth, I can highly recommend Wendigoon's breakdown of the Inferno. The dude just does it like nobody else. So, now you've got an overview of Dante's famous walk through Hell, let's break down how it relates to ODST, both its main story and also to Sadie's story that you find when the phones ring. But we're going to start with, of course, ODST's main story, and starting right from the top, in ODST, the Rookie fills the role of Dante Alighieri, who finds himself lost in New Mombasa, his very own dark wood, where he's confronted by beasts in the form of the Covenant. However, he's soon rescued by Virgil, who, if you can believe it, fills the role of none other than Virgil, but the similarities run far deeper than just name. So Virgil was a shade of the famous ancient Roman poet of the same name, who was born under Julius Caesar and lived under Augustus. And then our Virgil is, in a way, a shade of his creators as well. By the time Virgil was guiding the rookie, he and the engineer have become one. The two are one and the same. So the AI counterpart is a shade of Daniel Endesha, its now dead creator, and the engineer counterpart is a shade of the long dead foreigners who created it. Virgil is a shade of both humanity and the foreigners, who purely coincidentally were one and the same in Bungie's lore. I'm sure they weren't trying to imply anything by that little coincidence. Our Virgil being created in the time of the foreigners and then going on to live under the Covenant and humanity is also an analogy to Dante's Virgil being born under Caesar and living under Augustus as well. Slight tangent, but I'm pretty sure that this is also another nod to humans being foreigners, by the way. Julius Caesar was Augustus's great uncle, so not only did the two share a lineage, but when Caesar was assassinated, Augustus fought a war to avenge him, and when he was victorious, he then succeeded his great uncle as the new ruler of Rome, in a way inheriting the mantle that he left behind. Just another neat little bit of evidence that I've never noticed anyone talk about before that, once again, supports the idea that humans were foreigner. But anyway, back to ODST. In the Divine Comedy, it was said that Beatrice, the symbol of divine love, was the one who sent Virgil to guide Dante, and in ODST, Virgil was reactivated thanks to both Veronica Dare and Sadie Endesha, which indirectly allowed it to guide the rookie through ODST's allegory of hell, which to me makes it seem like both Dare and Sadie are meant to fill the role of Beatrice. So, when Dante reluctantly decides to follow Virgil, it's on the evening of Good Friday, and when Rookie awakens in his pod and decides to follow Virgil's directions, it's on the evening of October the 20th, 2552, which, of course, just so happens to be a Friday. Dante's passing through the vestibules of Hell and then across the river Acheron into Hell proper doesn't really have any direct translations into ODST, but I do want to briefly touch on what Hell itself translates to within the context of ODST, because it's quite an ambiguous translation. I think Hell is just meant to be the broad setting of ODST, from the streets of New Mombasa to the sub-levels of the Data Hive. It kind of encompasses at least 90% of the game's setting. The only place, or again I guess setting more so, that isn't Hell in ODST is the coastal highway and the streets at dawn. The meaning behind these areas is different, and trust me, we're going to come to it soon. So, getting into the real meat of Dante's Inferno now, the 9 Circles of Hell, and these all have varying degrees of relevance to ODST's story. The first circle, Limbo, is I think meant to represent New Mombasa. Limbo is where Virgil is said to reside, and of course the Superintendent / Virgil reside in New Mombasa. It's also said that a mighty one, Jesus, came down to Limbo to rescue a number of souls, and given that one of Bungie's many religious allegories in Halo's story was always that Master Chief was meant to be a Christ-like figure, I think it's fair to argue that all the lives that Chief saved in both Old Mombasa and New Mombasa in Halo 2 is meant to be an interpretation of that event. And when you think about it, him coming down, saving lives, and then disappearing through a portal feels kind of reminiscent of Jesus coming down, saving lives, and disappearing to heaven. Whilst in Limbo, Dante of course encounters a number of friendly faces, ranging from Aristotle and Socrates to Orpheus and Linus. Rookie doesn't encounter any friendly faces, that's kind of the point of the story, so I don't think that this detail has any real relevance to ODST. However, I think that his discovery of the Oni Alpha Site does have some pretty strong relevance. The Alpha Site is a grand structure that once housed some of the wisest minds in the office, that was preceded by a number of large blast doors, and that was surrounded by an artificial lake. In Limbo, Dante reaches the base of a great castle, the dwelling place of the wisest men of antiquity, that's surrounded by 7 gates and a flowing brook. Pretty clear-cut analogy if you ask me. And you know what, funnily enough, I actually don't think this is the first time that Bungie have referenced this castle. Slight tangent, but in Marathon 2, on the Svit homeworld of Lawan, one of the key locations that you visit is the Svit Citadel of Antiquity, which is surrounded by a moat of lava, very hell, which to cross, you have to go through a load of gates, among many other things. Just a neat little coincidence that I noticed. Definitely just a coincidence, because Bungie would never reference the same mythical and or biblical tale in both Marathon and Halo. That's literally never happened before. Moving down to the second circle of hell, Lust, I don't really think there are any parallels with ODST here, besides maybe Buck and Dare, but Lust is sinful, and Buck and Dare just have a complicated relationship. There's nothing sinful about that, depending on who you ask. The same goes for the third circle, Greed, and the fourth circle, Gluttony, as well. There are no real parallels there. However, the fifth circle, Wrath, has some very clear connections to ODST. The first connections are a bit subjective, but the transition from daytime New Mombasa as the rookie's dropping in, to nighttime utterly destroyed and ruined New Mombasa when he wakes up, kind of feels like an allegory for Dante's crossing of the River Styx. The fifth circle is seen as the last circle of incontinence, so the last circle where its sins pertain to a lack of self-control, and a transition into the circles where the sins relating to them are, frankly, real pure evil. This transition from bad to horrific feels like the transition from daytime New Mombasa, where although there was a war raging, the city was mostly intact and it seemed like we were winning, to nighttime New Mombasa, where the city has been totally annihilated, survivors are completely scattered and without hope, and victory isn't at all in sight. And further, as Dante crosses the River Styx, he sees high towers off in the distance that resemble fiery red mosques, which mark a location called the City of Dis, beneath which are the 6th through 9th circles of hell. The city is also surrounded by the River Styx, which acts as a moat for it. And this is a very clear analogy for both the burning city of New Mombasa and also the Oni Alpha site. The fiery red towers, I think, resemble the burning skyscrapers of the city in the distance, whereas the city of Dis resembles the Oni Alpha site. Again, the Alpha site is surrounded by a moat and is situated above the Data Hive, containing sublevels that resemble the next few circles of hell, and at the bottom of which is the Rookie's Prize, much like Virgil. So in the Inferno, it's said that an individual called Erictho has sent Virgil down to the 9th level of hell to bring back a spirit who's trapped there, and in ODST, Rookie is, unbeknownst to him, being guided down to the 9th sublevel of the Data Hive to retrieve Virgil, which of course was Dare's secret mission all along. Where the surface of New Mombasa represents the upper circles of hell, the Data Hive represents the lower circles in a very clear-cut manner. In the Inferno, an angel uses a wand to open the gates to the 6th through 9th levels of hell, and in ODST, it's Dare's beacon that leads Rookie into the Data Hive. Okay, so just before we continue, let's just do a quick summary of what we've covered so far, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Hell is the entirety of New Mombasa, both above and below ground. The streets of New Mombasa are the upper circles of hell. Oni Alpha site is the city of Dis. The sublevels of the Data Hive are the lower circles of hell, and the data center at the core of the hive is the center of hell, but we're going to come to this in a moment. So, moving into the lower circles of hell, the 6th circle, Heresy, I don't think has any relevance aside from the fact that it takes place roughly around the same time as the Rookie's descent through the Data Hive. So Dante's passing through the 6th circle was set to take place around 2 AM, specifically around 2 hours before sunrise, and of course Rookie descends into the Data Hive deep into the night and emerges at dawn, so the timing here lines up mostly. And speaking of descending into the lower circles, upon his descent into the Data Hive, Rookie finds himself on sublevel 7, or the 7th circle, which pertains to sins of violence. Now, I'll be honest, besides the meta parallel of Rookie just killing loads of Covenant on this level, I couldn't find any direct parallels from Dante's time in this 7th circle with ODST, besides potentially one. So, sublevel 7 is where you first run into the corrupt cop who was going down to the 9th level to confirm that Dr. Daniel Endesha, Sadie's dad and Virgil's creator, was indeed dead. But this dude becomes way more significant in a moment. Something else that I noticed here, it's mentioned in the 7th circle, but it's also mentioned quite a lot back in the 2nd circle as well, is the emphasis that Dante puts on the damage that's been done to Hell. A great earthquake was said to shake the earth at the precise moment of the death of Christ, which wreaked havoc on Hell, destroying structures and creating ruins. Chief, following regret through the portal to Delta Halo, and the subsequent damage that was done to New Mombasa when the portal closed, feels like a direct translation of this great earthquake. Moving down to the 8th circle, Fraud, I couldn't really find any connections here, but moving down again to the 9th circle, Treachery, this circle is full of connections to ODST. The Rookie reaches his 9th circle once he drops down into sub-level 9 of the Data Hive, much like Dante, who was lowered down into the 9th circle of Hell. This circle is also known as Cocytus, the River of Wailing, which was said to be a large frozen river or lake, and of course, sub-level 9 is entirely consumed by ice. The 9th circle, being where those who committed sins of treachery lurk, is really fitting as well, considering that this is the final destination of the corrupt NMPD cop, and also the place in which he canonically betrays the Rookie. The second region of the 9th circle in particular, called Antenora, named after a Trojan soldier named Antenor who betrayed his city, is dedicated to those who were traitors to their own political party, country, or city. And of course, this corrupt cop was just that, a traitor to the city of New Mombasa and its people, of whom he swore an oath to protect and serve. But then, at the end of the 9th circle, Dante reaches the center of Hell, much like Rookie and Dare reaching the data center at the end of sub-level 9, and also like how the center of Hell was located right at the bottom of Hell itself, this data center is located right at the bottom of the Hive. Now of course, in the Divine Comedy, this is where Satan, the ultimate sinner himself, lurks, but in ODST, it's where Virgil lurks, and I do wonder if flipping the ultimate evil for the ultimate innocent good in the case of Virgil is another poetic inversion on Bungie's part akin to the Erichtho thing that we touched on earlier. Erichtho sends Virgil to free a spirit from the 9th circle of Hell. Rookie's mission is to descend to the 9th sublevel of the Data Hive to retrieve Virgil, hiding away in its data center. I think this is a very clear analogy, albeit with the pieces of said analogy just kind of moved around a little bit. Suffice to say, cute little Virgil is far from Satan, quite the opposite in fact. A more clear-cut synergy between the two stories, however, is precisely when our protagonists escape Hell. At 6 PM on Sunday, Virgil and Dante finally escape Hell, but because they emerge in the southern hemisphere thanks to the time zone differences of the time, they reach the surface at 7:30 AM on that very Saturday. Rookie, Buck, Dare, and Virgil escape the Data Hive and reach the surface of New Mombasa as the sun rises on October 21st, 2552, which of course just so happens to be a Saturday. And what rough time does the sun rise on a Saturday in October? 7:40 AM. It's thereabouts on point. By this point, both Dante and Rookie have been through Hell and come out the other side. So, clearly, ODST's main story was heavily based upon Dante's Inferno, but it's not actually the most connected story in ODST to Dante's journey. That accolade goes to Sadie's story, of course the secret story that you find through audio logs scattered throughout New Mombasa. Sadie's story is broken down into 9 chapters, or as they're referred to in-game, 9 circles, so I think you can see where this one's going. It follows the story of Sadie Endesha, the 19-year-old daughter of Dr. Daniel Endesha, who created New Mombasa's Superintendent AI. However, when Sadie was young, her mother, who was one of New Mombasa's greatest public defenders, was murdered by one of her clients, and so Daniel created a subroutine of the Superintendent called Virgil to look out for Sadie and to help care for her in the absence of her mother. As a result, Sadie has the ability to quite literally converse on a personal level with the AI that runs New Mombasa, much to the bemusement of other ordinary citizens. So the first chapter, or circle, opens with Sadie, against her father and Virgil's wishes, taking a train to Old Mombasa to enlist in the UNSC, but she's interrupted by the arrival of Regret's carrier and his invasion of the city. So she rushes to a kiosk and has Virgil video call her dad, who's working 9 levels underground in the Data Hive, where he reveals Virgil's discovery of the Arc Portal, and the circle ends with Sadie's train coming under attack from wraiths. So, as I'm sure you've already guessed, each circle in Sadie's story corresponds with a certain circle in Hell, starting out with Circle 1, Limbo. It starts out totally normal, no Covenant, everyone just going about their daily Mombasa lives, until the invasion finally begins. Citizens are essentially in a state of limbo before passing into Hell proper, which is, of course, is the actual invasion. Some other little references as well. Sadie tells Virgil to go to Hell, and then when the Covenant arrive moments later, says Hell just came here, indicating, of course, that the invasion marks the end of Limbo and their transition into actual Hell. She also plans to rendezvous with her dad, who's on sub-level 9 of the Data Hive, just as Virgil was meant to save a soul from the 9th Circle of Hell. The second circle opens with the police commissioner of the NMPD, Commissioner Kinsler, and his driver/officer, Mike Branley, rescuing Sadie from the chaos, but instead of taking her to her dad, Kinsler says that he's taking her somewhere more private, and then tries to rape her in the back seat. But before he can, Mike stops the car, pulls Kinsler out and beats him up and throws him to the ground. Sadie tries to have him drop her off at the Oni building, but Mike refuses, so she gets out and Mike drives off. This one is pretty obvious. The second circle of Hell is for those who committed sins of lust, and with what Kinsler tries to do to Sadie, yeah, safe to say that he belongs there. The third circle opens with Sadie stranded on the wrong side of the bridge in Old Mombasa. She speaks to her father again, who's spoken to Dare, actually, and Dare's told him that this invasion is likely just a reconnaissance force who are after Virgil's discovery, of course the Ark Portal. But her attention is drawn to an 800-pound kebab salesman called Jonas, who's giving his food away for free to all the fleeing refugees, and he offers Sadie 2 kebabs when she tells him that she's going across the bridge. As Covenant explosions go off around them, Jonas just continues to chow down on his delicious kebab, content with staying behind until the bitter end because he's simply too fat to flee. But then he says that he'll only leave Mombasa if Sadie agrees to as well, an offer which she takes, and she leaves Jonas to head towards the bridge. The third circle of Hell is gluttony, and in this third circle, we're presented with an objectively gluttonous 800-pound man who, in the wake of an apocalyptic alien invasion, decides to just chow down on his delicious kebabs and just pretend like it's not happening, assuming that his own fate is sealed. Which is, yes, objectively gluttonous, and gluttony is a sin, but man, I will not stand for any Jonas disrespect here. Jonas is a legend. Nobody disrespects Jonas in my household.
But if I run out of hope, I will still have kebabs.
He might be gluttonous, but he is in no way maliciously gluttonous. In fact, quite the opposite. Handing kebabs out for free to escaping refugees is the opposite of malice. As Sadie flees through the refugees in Circle 4, she passes by a casino where she sees people looting ATMs and others being obsessed with saving their material belongings. So she has Virgil play a police siren to scare them off. But then she's held up by an old crone with a shotgun.
You think I'm deaf? Last warning! Back away from my cash machine! You too, girly.
Who spent 40 years losing her money to the casino and is using this opportunity to finally make some of that back. She tries smashing the ATM open, but a phantom comes in and drops off some brutes who tear the ATM off the wall and crush the crone with it. Rather poetic. As she's dying, she's still obsessed with the money, but a brute eventually puts her down. The brutes then almost find Sadie, who's hiding behind a dumpster, but out of nowhere, Mike comes in and splatters them with his car and saves Sadie once more. So the fourth circle of Hell is greed, and here we have the material obsessed, the money obsessed, and the lifelong gambling addicted still fixated on their vices even in the midst of an apocalyptic Covenant invasion. Moving into the fifth circle, Mike and Sadie try to make it across the bridge, which is packed with refugees fleeing the city centre, but their passage is blocked by an NMPD Pelican commanded by none other than Commissioner Kinsler. Armed with an SMG, he holds them up from the troop bay, but Virgil comes in and saves them by having a waste disposal elephant ram into the side of the Pelican, and her and Mike begrudgingly hop into this newfound trash APC. So, with the fifth circle of Hell being Wrath, there's of course the obvious parallel of the wrath of Kinsler upon his return here, but it goes deeper than that. So, in the 5th circle, Dante and Virgil cross the River Styx, and on the horizon they see the city of Dis, beneath which the final circles of hell are located, and its walls are said to be guarded by fallen angels. And here, Sadie and Virgil cross the ocean to New Mombasa on the horizon, but their path is blocked by Kinsler in his pelican, of course an allegory for a fallen angel, given that fallen angels were expelled from heaven and thus evil. In the 6th circle, Tom Uberti, who was an aggressive salesman, takes refuge in the Oliphant as well. He even tries to sell Sadie and Mike ceramic house siding in the midst of all of this. Sadie's dad discovers that the engineers are repairing the damage that the Covenant have done to Virgil, and watches as 6 of them sacrifice themselves to save the 7th. That engineer, of course, being Quick to Adjust, who is the engineer that combines with Virgil. When Tom hears this, he takes it as meaning that the Covenant want to negotiate a peace deal, and so he pops up at the top of the Oliphant and tries to use his business acumen to negotiate with a Wraith. And as Mike and Sadie flee, the Wraith fires and kills Mike. And I gotta say, this Mike Uberti guy kinda reminds me of old Gil from The Simpsons.
Wow! Hot dog! A sail!
I'll take it from here, Gil.
No!
So the 6th circle of hell is heresy, and here, for the first time chronologically, we witness a member of the Covenant aid humanity, which is of course heresy in the eyes of the Covenant. Tom also alerts the Wraith to Mike and Sadie's Oliphant that was previously keeping them hidden, and tries to strike a deal with the enemy, and so, in a way, he commits heresy against humanity twice. Circle 7 opens with Sadie and Mike speaking to her dad via an Optcan kiosk, but the feed, and also Virgil, abruptly go offline, something only the police could do. So they head to NMPD HQ, where they run into a pile of dead cops in the entranceway, and beside them is an ex-cop named Marshall, who sent some of his old pals on their way himself. The dude has gone completely insane and is shooting up the police headquarters, even killing a legit cop called Jim who supposedly stole his half and half, and he takes Mike and Sadie hostage, but quickly after, a SWAT team raid the room and, despite taking a few casualties themselves, kill Marshall and free Mike and Sadie, and let them head up to the 14th floor to save Virgil. And this one's a pretty straightforward analogy. The 7th circle of hell is violence, and not only is there a violent shootout with the SWAT team, but Marshall shot up his previous headquarters and slaughtered at least a dozen officers. In the 8th circle, Sadie and Mike reach the 14th floor and hear the duty officer speaking to Dare over comms, who's telling her to reactivate the superintendent. But she can't because Kinsler gave her explicit instructions to keep it deactivated. Sadie tries to convince her when, all of a sudden, Virgil starts to talk to her through the comms in engineer whistles. Meanwhile, Mike finds the office in which the false propaganda messages that are being broadcast throughout Mombasa are coming from, and confronts Stephen, the man who's doing the propaganda broadcasting, calling him a liar. In rebuttal, Stephen says that he's just filling citizens' time before they die with some semblance of hope, and offers the mic to Mike, who transmits a more realistic and fitting message, after which he gets a call from none other than Kinsler, who tells Sadie that she'll now do exactly what he says because he has control of the firefighting systems in her father's lab and will use them to kill him if she doesn't. So, with the 8th circle of hell being fraud, that's very clearly referring to the propaganda officer who's selling the citizens of New Mombasa false hope in the final hours of their life. Now under Kinsler's control, the 9th circle begins with Sadie rushing down to Kikawani Station to get a train to its 9th platform, where he's waiting on a private train for her. The station is packed and chaotic, and the Covenant are closing in, so she leaves Mike behind and sets off. The train is guarded by corrupt cops with machine guns who are holding back a horde of escapees, and when Sadie breaks through the crowd to get on the train, they get even more riled up, causing the cops to open fire on them. When Sadie gets aboard the train, she asks Kinsler if he worries that there might just be a hell after all, to which he replies,
Oh, I know there is, my dear. And you and I are leaving it. Officer, close the doors.
As the doors close, the corrupt cops open fire into the crowd once again, and the train begins to depart for Nairobi, and right as it does, Kinsler coldly tells Sadie that he killed her father by releasing argon gas into his lab just an hour ago. He again announces his intent to assault Sadie, just as one of the other cops says that the officers that they sent down to the data hive still can't find the engineer. This is referring to the team of corrupt officers that the corrupt cop in Data Hive was a part of. Kinsler's plan is to leave the city with the engineer and also all of the superintendent's data on the ARC portal, and then be declared a hero when he hands it over to the UNSC. But outside, Mike has other plans. He rallies the crowd to storm the train, as Virgil slams the brakes on, forcing it to stop. He then opens the doors, and Kinsler is pulled out and quite literally torn apart by the angry crowd outside, gone for good. With the crowd now on board the train to safety, to the dismay of Mike and Virgil, Sadie gets off the train and heads for her dad's lab to save the engineer who also saved Virgil. But Virgil replays some of her dad's messages and ultimately convinces her to get back on the train, and the three evac to safety. So, a bit of a long-winded description there, but with the ninth circle of hell being treachery, we have multiple connections in these final audio logs. Of course, the cops opening fire on citizens that they swore to protect is objectively treacherous, but Kinsler lying to Sadie about her dad being alive to get her onto his train is also another clear-cut case of treachery as well. Kinsler also mentions that the train is leaving hell, yet another reference to Mombasa being an allegory for hell itself.
Hell jumper, where you been? Hell jumper, where you been? Feet first into hell and back again.
Cooper, we are green and very, very mean.
Jack sniper! This is for all those legendary deaths. Hey guys, welcome back. Today, as you can see, we are not in our usual habitat. I am in the wilderness outside Salt Lake City, where I'm gonna become a real-life ODST for a day. And guys, trust me when I say, I'm not kidding. Right, you little bastard. This is for all those legendary deaths. So this video is a very special collaboration between a bunch of people who I'm gonna mention later on, but specifically Flux Defense, who create this beauty here called the Raider, which, given that the entire company are Halo fans, they have decked out in an M7S format. So the Halo 3, ODST, SMG, as you can see. So I saw these guys posting this on Instagram maybe a couple of months ago, and as soon as I saw them posting it, I knew that I had to find a way to make a video about it, because if you guys know me, I love firearms, I love guns, but I don't get the opportunity to do much with them. So when I got the opportunity to do a video with guns and also cross that over with Halo, well, it was a match made in heaven, and my friends, that is exactly what this video is going to be. So, firstly today, we're going to be running some drills with this bad boy, with a very special addition. Yes, that is right. Thanks to Vulture Productions over on Instagram, huge legend, massive shout out to him, check him out. I now have my very own wearable ODST helmet, and today we are going to be going through actual ODST training. So I'm going to be heading very soon up into that valley up there that you can see off in the distance, and I'm going to be shooting some coveys. Yes, some actual coveys with this bad boy, with the ODST helmet on, to see if I can become a true ODST. And then later on, we're not done there, later on, we're going to be doing something that June was pretty good at. Something about taking the hat off an elite at 2,000 yards. You are not going to want to miss it. But firstly, we're going to take a look at this actual build, how it's decked out like the M7S, the suppressed SMG from ODST. And for that, we're going to cut back to the studio. So we're here in the extremely high quality Flux studio, which is way better than my normal setup. We're going to take a real quick look at what makes this Flux setup so similar to the M7S SMG from ODST. And I'm joined by Jake from Flux. He's going to go over the specific details about these two builds that we have here and why they're so similar to the M7S.
When you look at this, really what kind of makes you think, oh my, this looks like an SMG from Halo is just the overall ergonomics of it. You'll also notice that this particular build has a front mounted optic. It's using the Halo mount from Tactical Development. Typically, when you have a Raider build, you'll just use the standard mount that comes with the Raider, but this mount really makes it look like the SMG from Halo. And then we do have a laser here. This is the L3 Harris NGAL, which gives you Viz laser and IR laser capabilities. And then moving on to the next build, this is our 365 Raider. Pretty similar, we got our front mounted optic here. This was a Trijicon SRO, dead air suppressor, and then a Surefire X300. And so basically you have the closest thing that you can get to an SMG. And you know, this was not necessarily our intent, but it's what it ended up being. But we could not be more happy with it.
It was a happy little accident.
Exactly, yeah.
So one of the biggest differences between the Raiders that we'll be shooting today and also the M7S from Halo is the calibers that they're chambered in. So in Halo, the SMG is chambered in a caliber that doesn't exist, 5x23mm caseless, which is kind of similar to 5.7, which like the P90 is in the 5.7. But Jade, do you want to go over the brief differences between 9 and 5x23 that doesn't exist?
So I mean 5x23 is going to be assumingly very similar to 5.7x28, which was originally designed as a round to have more velocity and penetrate armor better. But 9mm, especially nowadays, has a wide variety of applications just because of how modern our like loading capabilities are with ammunition. So you have plus P rounds, subsonic rounds. There's a lot you can do with 9mm. And then also 9mm is plentiful. 5.7x28 is not exactly easy to find.
So, with the cool details out of the way, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of today's video. So, just to show you how this thing shoots, we're just gonna mag dump this target real quick before we get into the actual anti-Covenant drills. So, send it. So, now we're beginning the proper ODST training. In this valley here, we have 3 targets set up. There are 3 Covey hostiles in this valley for me to find. There are 2 grunts, and there's 1 jackal sniper lurking somewhere. And it's my job to move through the valley and Mozambique all 3 of them. So the Mozambique drill, if you don't know, is 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. So I'm gonna go through this valley 3 times, run this drill 3 times without the ODST helmet on, and see what times I get. And then we're gonna put the ODST helmet on and get some real cool looking shots of me trying to beat my non-helmet time with the ODST helmet on. So let's waste no more time and let's kill some Covenant bastards.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go. 1 grunt. Grunt down. Another grunt is spotted. Sneaky bastard. Grunt down. Jackal sniper! Okay, me from the future here. Now, because we were shooting low-grain ammo with a suppressor, we had a few failure to feeds early on in the day, which we eventually realized were just because the slide wasn't fully resetting. So if you ever see me either rack the gun when it doesn't need to be racked or just slam the slide forward, well, that's why. Ah! Okay. Time?
56.
Okay. That was the rookie run. I butchered that. The next 2 we're going to hit a proper time. So, Troy, count me down. Let's get a good one in this time.
3, 2, 1.
Grunt down. Grunt spotted. Grunt down. Jackal sniper. Reload. Jackal sniper down. The Jackal sniper induced a malfunction. They have mystical powers in the valleys of Utah, but don't worry, we took it down anyway. Troy, time?
42.
Hell yeah, we beat the first one. I'll take that. That was good, but I can do better. 3rd time's the charm. Tie me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
Grunt down. Reloading. Grunt down. Jackal sniper. Clear. Time.
26.
Woo! That's the best one. Third time's the charm, baby. Now let's see what this is like with an actual ODST helmet on. So now comes the time for the real drill. I have here my own custom ODST helmet made by Vulture Productions with my logo, my name, and also, you know, given that I like to talk about the flood every now and then, I've got a good old-fashioned biohazard logo on the top because I like to think this is the ODST helmet of a biohazard containment, maybe even Umbrella Corporation contracted ODST, who knows. But let's run 3 drills and try and beat my record of 26 seconds without the helmet on. It's gonna be hard, but we'll see. Right. Okay, it is gonna be about 1,000,000 degrees in here. Right, for the record, I don't have visor mode or any kind of HUD, okay? So don't go trash talking me in the comments if I miss, because I don't have the cheat code that ODSTs have. Just to let you know. Now, just for the record, I originally mounted a POV camera on the side of the ODST helmet to get some really cool POV shots, but unfortunately, thanks to the extreme heat out in the desert, the plastic rail that was attaching the camera to the helmet quite literally melted. So, unfortunately, we don't have any POV shots of the ODST runs. Okay, Troy, count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
Grunt. Where's the other grunt gun? Oh, shit. Grunt. Grunt down. You see, ODSTs have got to be able to go in all terrain. And thankfully your boy can. Jackal sniper. Jackal sniper down. Troy, time? 48. You know what? That's not bad to say that it's 3,000 degrees in here. Let's run it back. Right. Attempt number 2. Troy, count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
Grunt down. Grunt sighted. Grunt down. Jackal sniper. Reloading. One round in there already. Time.
29.
29. Not bad. I fumbled a little bit, but not bad. We can beat the non-helmet record, I believe. Let's run it back for the 3rd and final time. Okay, it's like 36 degrees in the middle of Utah right now. And being from the UK, I'm not used to this heat, so I'm kind of hot. So I say we get this bad boy on and make this 3rd drill the quickest one yet. Troy, count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
Two grunts down. Empty, reloading. Jackal down, time, Troy.
23.
23, hell yeah. That is a personal record with the helmet on. And trust me, this helmet is beautiful, but man is it hot in here. Whew. So welcome to part 2 of ODST training, where we're going to be doing some long range shooting, because there was once a famous guy, I think he may have been a Spartan, who mentioned something about taking the hat off an elite at, I don't know, 2,000 yards or something like that. And we have 3 targets downrange right now. We have a Jackal sniper, of course. We have a brute, I believe it is a brute major. We also have an elite, and I want to kill them all, but in particular, I want to take the hat off that elite at what is most certainly 2,000 yards, definitely not any less than 2,000 yards. That's 2,000 yards, trust me on that one. So this is the Seekins Precision SP10, but the cool thing is it has the antimatter ease scope switch on it, which allows you to change the magnification of the scope just like the sniper scope in Halo. It works the exact same, it even sounds the same. I'm not even kidding, it sounds identical. And so we're going to see how many targets I can hit downrange, both normally and also with the ODST helmet on. Once again, we're going to run 3 drills. I'm going to try and hit each target 3 times without the helmet and then with the helmet. And we're going to see how I get on. But you know, something tells me that this is going to be way harder than the other drills with the helmet on, because I don't think I'm going to be able to use the scope. We'll see though. Let's start. Okay, so 3 rounds for each target. We're going to go brute, elite, jackal, brute, elite, jackal, brute, elite, jackal. Starting out without the helmet. Let's send some rounds down range. First round firing in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Whether I hit the elite or not, I'm not sure. Moving to the brute. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was an impact, I think. And now for that pesky jackal sniper. This is for all those legendary runners that you ruined. Okay, back to the elite. Firing in 3, 2. Oh, I just took his hat off, I think. I believe bro is no longer wearing a hat. Firing on the brute. Taking out Tartarus in 3, 2, 1. That was a miss. Jackal sniper. Oh, he's down. That was straight through him. I can even see the jackal sniper target waving. Some pretty good shots right there. Right. We've got 3 more without the helmet and then the real hard shooting begins. Oh yeah, we blew the hat off the elite. We blew it off so hard that the paper's come off. Poor guy. Oh, the wind blew it. Let's go. Yeah, that elite's down. Okay, putting down Atriox before he can create the banished in 3, 2, 1. I have no idea if that hit, but I'm going to assume that it did. And finally, one last jackal sniper shot, just for good measure. You can never shoot a jackal sniper enough. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Now I think it's time for the hardest challenge of the day. We're going to try sniping with the ODST helmet on. I don't think this is going to go very well. So now comes the hard part. I don't even know if I'll be able to see through the scope with the helmet on. Actually, I'm going to have a look. Yeah, no. There is no seeing through the scope with the helmet on. So I'm going to have to essentially no scope. I'm going to have to no scope a jackal sniper at 2,000 yards. 2,000 yards. So here goes nothing. No scoping a jackal sniper in 3, 2, 1. Oh, clean hit. Jackal sniper down. Would you look at that? Try the elite and the brute. Brute going down in 3, 2, 1. And now the elite. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they were all clean hits. So that brings my ODST training to a close, and if I were you, I'd say I may have just passed. Yes, I might be British, but I'll be the first ever, or one of the first ever British ODSTs. So as you can see, I'm out here in the mountains of Utah, but I gotta say, that backdrop over there looks an awful lot like where we unearthed or rather where the Covenant unearthed the portal to the Ark in Void. So maybe that's the universe coming full circle and telling me to go over there and start digging to get to our true ancestry. But once again, thank you all for watching this video. This has been a true labor of love for myself, but also everyone else involved. Flux guys, Troy, legendary cameraman who's currently holding the main camera, Vulture Productions who made this beautiful ODST helmet for me. I love this thing so much. This has been a true pipe dream video of mine, to combine like my love of guns and also Halo and especially ODST stuff, man. Like, this stuff is the dream. So thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully I can find a way to make some more content like this in the future. I've got some ideas for sure. Gotta make it happen at some point, but man, I'm hoping that this video has ended up being the vibiest video of all time. It should be the vibiest video on my channel. So yeah, I'm gonna stop waffling because I'm the king of waffle. I'm really good at waffling and I'm gonna stop that. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. And instead of me giving you an outro, there's no finger guns in this video, ironically, given that I'm holding a gun. Just take a look at that backdrop over there. I'll let the backdrop end the video for me. 2009 was a big year for gaming, packed full of highly anticipated sequels and new IPs that would go on to become industry staples. Modern Warfare 2 burst onto the market in November, shattering any and all sales records that came before it. Gears of War 2 released the same month to resounding success, cementing itself as Xbox's runner-up flagship franchise. Left 4 Dead 2 released and continued to prove that Valve could not make an unpopular first-party game. Borderlands came onto the scene and spawned the now infinitely popular looter-shooter genre. And then there was Halo, where all its co-competing franchises chose to dig in and iterate upon previous successes. Bungie, still riding the immense high of Halo 3, took an incredible risk and tried something completely new: Halo 3 ODST. Now granted, not only was ODST a spin-off game, but it was a project that originally began as a DLC for Halo 3, codenamed Halo 3 Recon. But where some people criticised Bungie's decision to convert Recon into its own dedicated game, I personally feel like they actually deserve praise for having the balls to do this. They knew how different it was going to feel to Halo 3, and more so to any other Halo game that had come before. And they knew that as a standalone game, it wasn't going to be anywhere near as complete a package as, say, Gears of War 2 or Modern Warfare 2. And yet, they had enough faith in their experimental baby to release it during the same season as multiple gaming juggernauts. In hindsight, a spring 2010 release would have been a far safer choice, but in their typical fashion, Bungie didn't care about the competition, and thus, Halo 3 ODST was released to the world on September 22nd, 2009, meaning it's now been 10 years since we first dropped feet first into hell. Happy 10th birthday, ODST. Let's talk about you and everything that you did so goddamn right. Like any other good Halo game, ODST's success began before its launch, with its advertising. Now, all Halo games, even the bad ones, have had incredible marketing campaigns, but ODST's was different. More so than any other Halo, even Reach, ODST tried to paint the horrors of the Human Covenant War from a more grounded perspective. A perspective that ODST let us in on for the first time in Halo history. Now, Halo's marketing campaigns had always been gritty. I mean, Halo 3's Believe, Starry Night, and Landfall were our first insights into Halo as a more visceral and gritty experience, where humanity was very much fighting a losing battle, and ODST shares these themes, but with one stark difference. Where Halo 3's advertising always focused on an individual hero, the Master Chief, whose strength, tenacity, and abilities were vastly superior to anyone or anything fighting alongside him, ODST focused instead on the collective. No single ODST is ever shown as the hero of the day. In fact, the opposite is painted. ODSTs are depicted as painfully mortal soldiers who, unlike Chief, can't do it all alone, and can and do die in battle. Whereas Chief could accomplish just about anything alone, the ODSTs need to act as a collective. They aren't the superheroes people are used to playing as in the Halo universe. They're vulnerable, and they're far more grounded. Through the eyes of an ODST, a single brute is one of the greatest horrors and is rarely something they can handle alone. Their vulnerability compared to the Spartans means that they aren't strangers to death. They're sent on similar missions to Spartans, except without all the bio-augmentations and armor and shielding, and thus, their fatality rates are extremely high. This focus on death and loss set up the role of the ODST perfectly, and brought home what it was really like to be fighting a losing war on home turf against an enemy that just seemed unstoppable as a highly vulnerable soldier sent on suicide mission after suicide mission. And the beauty of ODST is just how well most of these themes transitioned into the game itself. But first, let's talk about the game's launch. Like we already mentioned, fall 2009 was an incredibly busy time in gaming, and Bungie releasing what was once a campaign DLC as a fully fledged game seemed insane, and it was insane. But the insane was where Bungie thrived. In a strange, semi-coincidental way, ODST's launch mirrored its protagonist, quiet among the noise surrounding it, yet still incredibly impactful. Obviously, it was no Halo 3, but it still managed an impressive 2.5 million sales in its first few weeks, topping all the sales charts till November. It even gave Halo 3 a bit of a boost as well, with Microsoft reporting over 5 million unique players and over 116 million hours played on either Halo 3 or ODST less than a month after launch. But just how different was ODST? Well, where most games releasing at the time were simply elaborating on their existing formulas, iterating on what made their predecessors so popular, Bungie did the typical Bungie thing and went in the other direction, once again carving their own path in the snow. They had the best formula in first-person shooter history, one that utterly revolutionized console gaming, a core aspect of which was the raw power of the player, and yet they took a risk and nerfed the player. Gone were the days of the power fantasy fueled by the Master Chief. Now that you're in ODST, you're smaller, your weapons are weaker, and you're much more vulnerable. The health system from Combat Evolved made a return to exacerbate this feeling of vulnerability. Now, every firefight had a lasting effect on your health. When coupled with the weaker firepower, this made every enemy you encountered much more of a threat. No longer was ploughing through the Covenant, mowing down hordes of grunts and brutes that stood in your way, a viable tactic. You had to actually use your head now. Often, evasion was even a superior strategy to engagement, a first for Halo and an effect that served to ground the experience just that little bit more. All these gameplay alterations that served to bring Halo down a few notches would be carried forward by Bungie into Reach too. The atmosphere created by ODST's changes created the perfect foundation for Halo stories based on loss. By putting us on the same level as those who suffered the highest fatalities during the war, we got an insight into what it was like to be that vulnerable, and yet still be sent on near impossible missions against the Covenant. And yet despite this, Bungie still managed to give us almost everything that we expect from a Halo campaign. We got a sniper mission, we got dedicated vehicle missions, huge set pieces, Scorpion sections, and even a Warthog run. And somehow, none of these experiences felt even remotely out of place in the overall story the game was trying to tell. And what a story it was. Halo 1, 2, and 3 all told very grandiose stories about saving the universe, focusing on the macro details over the micro. In keeping with ODST's love of shaking up the formula, it told an incredibly different one that was a thematic departure from the Halo stories that we were all used to. Ultimately, the overall story did end up linking into the original trilogy, quite well in fact, but its tone was so radically different. Like we already mentioned, ODST is a story primarily about loss, but at the same time, it's also a story about isolation, about loneliness and separation, and even about love. The way that I see it, ODST's story can be kind of cut in half based on tone, with one half being Rookie's story and the other half being the rest of Alpha 9. Both these halves tell stories that are drastically different from a tonal perspective, yet somehow manage to fit together in the overarching narrative really neatly. Alpha 9's side of the story is incredibly vanilla. It's pretty much everything that we expect from a traditional Halo campaign in terms of tone and also just overall mission design. Not that that's a bad thing, mind you. It's a story about banding together and overcoming overwhelming odds, with hints of something a little bit more grandiose waiting for us at the end thanks to Dare's secret mission. There's moments of humour, badassery and companionship. Each ODST's mission brings a typical Halo trope to the table. Buck's mission is your vanilla Halo infantry mission. Dutch brings us the vehicle level, Mickey satisfies our need for explosive Scorpion action, and Romeo gives us the all too familiar sniping mission. None of these experiences are new, but that's not a bad thing. They're experiences that we've come to expect and come to love from Halo, and a game without them would just feel plain wrong, so Bungie's idea to use Alpha 9, a more conventional set of characters, to deliver them was pretty clever. But then we have Rookie's half of the campaign, and right off the bat, you can tell that it's gonna be different. You're alone, stranded in an occupied New Mombasa in the dead of night. There's nothing coming through your comms, no friendly voice or transmission. The only audio is the Rookie wincing in pain, the ensuing storm, the phantoms circling your location, and the unfamiliar and rather unsettling new soundtrack. The first human voice that you run into is that of the superintendent, which is a sign of things to come.
Fast, accurate diagnosis, or your money back.
That voice is the only remotely human thing the rookie is going to hear for hours to come. The first encounter with the Covenant Patrol in the square really sets the tone for the rest of the rookie's Mombasa Street missions. Beneath a dark, stormy sky, you're outnumbered, yet undetected. It's already clear that this entire region of New Mombasa is lost to the Covenant, and thus, beneath the grand carcass of the space elevator, you have two options: evasion or engagement. Engagement requires you to pick your shots wisely, preferably from a distance, but evasion, arguably the preferred method, requires constant scanning of your surroundings with visor mode to make sure that no other patrols get the jump on you as you navigate between the wreckage of a battle fought here in the hours before. The atmosphere, combined with the option to remain in the rainy shadows, really helps to build the game's film noir tone. Bungie have gone on record stating that the film noir genre of cinema was one of ODST's biggest inspirations, and that it inspired it in almost every way, from art design and gameplay to story and music. And this inspiration is what makes ODST's story, Rookie's Hearth in particular, stand out so much. It's so unlike any story that Halo's ever told before, but it fits the Covenant-controlled New Mombasa setting absolutely perfectly, and the pessimistic elements of film noir feed into this idea of loss and loneliness that Rookie's story focuses on. He spends the entire night tiptoeing around the dark, rainy city, piecing together all the evidence he can find to work out what happened to his squad after the failed drop the day before. He plays the role of a sort of detective, living in the shadows of his squad, and his only guiding force is the mysterious superintendent, the city's AI that guides him towards his ultimate destination in a cleverly subtle manner. And then, there's the music. Marty and Michael had been making the same style of music for the past 8 years at this point, and with ODST, with all of its tonal shifts aside, I think it's very clear that they wanted to try something different. The introduction of smooth jazz inspired by film noir was the perfect accompaniment to the quiet, rainy New Mombasa. ODST really gives me the same vibes as Cowboy Bebop. Both are film noir, focusing on isolation, separation, and loneliness, and both are accompanied by soul-healing jazz. In a way, Rookie even kind of reminds me of Spike Spiegel. Both are lonely characters trying to piece together their past and search for their companions. They're both clumsy, yet also innocent, and for the majority of their stories, they're both alone, just in different ways. The similarities in music between the two are really just the icing on the cake, and I swear to God, Bungie had to have drawn some inspiration from Cowboy Bebop for ODST. I am absolutely adamant. In the end, similar to Spike, Rookie finds what he's looking for. After piecing together all the evidence that he found and following a breadcrumb trail through the Mombasa streets, he reunites with Dare and ultimately the rest of Alpha 9 as they escape the city with one of the most important artifacts ever discovered by humanity, the adorable Virgil. I love the fact that the entire time, Virgil was the one guiding Rookie throughout New Mombasa, giving him directions on the digital street signs and selectively locking and opening blast doors until, like in typical film noir fashion, he was guided into the underbelly of the city to rescue him. I love that the entire path the Rookie was sent on was ultimately to save a scared, helpless alien who just happened to be really damn cute. It's a nice human cherry on the cake that is the Rookie's story. He overcame the loneliness and separation, and in doing so, helped turn the tide of the war. How very Halo. So, to bring this whole thing full circle, ODST's story is so good because of how many risks it took. Bungie weren't afraid of creating something radically different to what millions of people expected from Halo. From almost every single perspective, ODST changes up the Halo formula, and yet it still works, and it still feels like Halo. It proves that a Halo game doesn't have to center around a Spartan to feel like Halo, and it's an absolute crying shame that we've never had anything like it since. Bungie dared to experiment, and it paid off in an immaculate fashion. Happy 10th birthday, ODST. You haven't aged a day. It really does pay to be the strong silent type. But what about Firefight? Okay, right. Look, I'm gonna commit an act of treason here and say that I was never actually the biggest fan of Firefight in any Halo game. I always preferred playing Horde or Zombies when it came to playing a Horde mode, but out of all the iterations of Firefight, I think it's almost at this point a unanimous opinion across the entire Halo community that ODST did it best, and I think the reason why is because of how nerfed the player character was. Being a weaker ODST as opposed to a strong, formidable super soldier makes the infinite waves of Covenant feel far more intimidating for the same reasons that the individual patrols in the campaign felt intimidating as well. You can't just blast through them anymore, but in Firefight, there's no evasion. You can't hide from the brutes. Every single brute, jackal, grunt, and hunter needs to be taken down. So it forces you into that sort of uncomfortable position of being out of options and having to face the enemy straight down. It's far more grounded and, I don't want to say realistic, but visceral? Gritty? I'm not quite sure what the word is to describe it, but compared to Reach, and far more so compared to Halo 5's, in my opinion, awful iteration of Firefight, it feels a lot more like a do-or-die survival mode than simply a mode where you kill infinite waves of enemies. That's all I've really got to say about Firefight because, I mean, like I said, I was never the biggest fan of it, but I appreciate how ODST's gameplay changes managed to make what was once a simple Horde mode that much more intense, and also a word that I can't quite think of. Oh, and also, Playable Johnson. Playable Johnson. Need I say any more? Today, we're going to cover the lore behind every single Firefight map and location in Halo 3 ODST. What can I say? It'll be a hell of a video. So wake up, Buttercup. It's time to dive into some lore. Located in the heart of Tayari Plaza in Sector 5 of New Mombasa is Crater, an arena with a frightening level of verticality and permanently overwatched by the proud lion of New Mombasa. Once the location of a desperate yet chivalrous mission for a certain dropshot trooper, the remnants of his objective still remain in the atrium. A deserted, damaged drop pod. Its user long gone, but its impact on this once peaceful plaza still visible. The lower ground of this precinct was once a peaceful place, likely bustling with commuters and business people going about their daily lives and admiring the rare sight of greenery in this very monochromatic industrial metal jungle. Ferns and untamed vines hang from the steeping walls, and small patches of an African grass, split into quadrants, combine with the stone pillars to form some sort of 26th century natural art piece. Ascending the steps out of the pit takes you to the street, littered with the carcasses of burnt out and abandoned vehicles, the owners of which likely had to flee their cars, their buses and their trucks for their lives upon the invasion. The vast towers of New Mombasa surround Crater, swimming in the energy particles that coat the island city following the opening and subsequent closing of the portal, and casting shadows across its streets. Evil marksmen can be seen lining the rooftops with a keen eye, waiting for some poor, unknowing soul to step out into the open. At night, the neon road signs, advertisements, billboards, and ground-level lights illuminate this plunging arena in an almost comforting manner, making it clear that prior to the invasion, this plaza was one that never slept. However, as one ascends out of the crater, they become engulfed by a blood-red glow, transforming the atmosphere of comfort into one of intimidation and terror. Lost Platoon is located within the heart of the Uplift Nature Reserve, which was funded by New Mombasa Uplift, those responsible for the creation of the city's space elevator. As the largest wildlife reserve east of Nairobi and one of the most renowned nature reserves in the world, it was once the crown jewel of the city. But when the Covenant chose it as a prime landing position, it became the area with the highest concentration of Covenant forces in the entirety of New Mombasa. Prior to its departure, Regret's carrier, the Solemn Penance, deployed much of its invasion force there, and even after, it continued to be the hottest of Covenant hot zones. Various platoons of Marines were sent into the park to take it back, but were very quickly overwhelmed, and it wasn't until the arrival of Dropshot Trooper Dutch that the tide would turn. He helped the Marines push through the reserve until they reached the area of Lost Platoon, what was once a visitor center for all coming to witness planet Earth's greatest and most exotic wildlife, but now exists as a makeshift UNSC forward operating base. Ammo crates and weapon racks scatter the observation deck and fill the supply rooms, sandbags are stacked to form cover, and a warthog, armed with a heavy chain gun, is stationed in the entrance. Where children would once observe wildlife, snipers are now positioned. Where families would pick up brochures and leaflets, sandbag emplacements are built. Where exotic wildlife would once freely roam, alien invaders desecrate with their filthy footsteps, tearing through the park on their vicious choppers and bombarding it with mortar fire. And then, in the weeks following, the entire nature reserve was more than likely destroyed during the Covenant's glassing of the area to uncover the Ark portal. There is nothing as emblematic of the suffering humanity endured during Earth's invasion than the desecration and destruction of the Uplift Nature Reserve. Sector 10 of New Mombasa has seen better days. A thick cloud of acrid smoke blankets this rally point, parted only by the arrival of phantom dropships. However, luckily for those digging in here, this Kizingo Boulevard entrance to Oni's Alpha site creates the perfect choke point. With Covenant forces converging on the doorway, it's the job of a brave squad of ODSTs to prevent them from carrying out the will of their gods and gaining access to the Alpha site. Various walkways and bridges allow troopers to get the high ground on their foes, whose dropships can only land in 2 locations, making for the perfect kill box. However, lose control of these catwalks and they become an enemy sniper's heaven. Thankfully, there's enough room to fall back, and the further you do, the higher the ground gets, giving you a fantastic view of the enemy landing zones. At night, the neon road markings illuminate the ground, and the remnants of the New Mombasa skyline, backed by the dark, brooding sky, create an ominous reminder of the events occurring in the rest of the city. In an attempt to remain proud and defiant, however, the entrance to the Oni building remains lit up, creating a stark contrast between the deathly darkness that shrouds the city streets, broken only by the amber glow of streetlights, and the vigorous, bright white illumination of the government building. This is either a strong, resilient act of defiance, or a sobering indication of where the priorities of the UNSC and UEG lie. Beyond the now destroyed bridge above the artificial lake leading up to the Oni Alpha site is the security zone. This zone makes up the bulk of the artificial island constructed specifically for this Oni building, located in the center of an artificial lake walled off by gargantuan concrete walls, and acts as the final line of defense against the Covenant invaders who seek to gain entry to this vital site. Bearing down upon this park-like entrance is the Oni building itself, a vast, dark, featureless, brutalist building with an aggressive shape and silhouette. An almost soulless and evil-looking structure, it towers over the park like a titan, creating a strong sense of insignificance to all shrouded within its shadow, both friend and foe. However, the Covenant's mission to breach this monolith of a structure is going to be an uphill battle. The security zone is, in fact, a rather steep hill, laden with turret emplacements facing down, barriers to protect it from mortar fire, and thick concrete blocks to funnel the enemy down specific paths. Knowing the secrets that would ultimately be stored in this great tower, its architects took notes from their medieval ancestors for its location and design, to ensure it was as impenetrable as even the most resilient of castles. Alpha Site is set within the imposing Oni Alpha Site Tower, the single most important location in the entire continent. The official story is that this tower is simply an Oni office block for their East African Protectorate branch, but the reality is far, far more significant. This tower is in fact home to data aggregators studying the vast foreigner structure that was discovered below the surface of Voi, and that office higher-ups believe to be what the Covenant is after. You can see now why the tower is built on an artificial island in the centre of a walled-off lake with only one access point. The firefight map itself is set within the building's central elevator shaft, where Dutch, Mickey, and the NMPD officers planted the charges to destroy the building and deny the Covenant access to its secrets. The 3 elevators both ascend to the rooftop of the tower and descend deep into the depths of New Mombasa, connecting to the Superintendent's data center below the lake. The only way the enemy can infiltrate this part of the shaft via dropship is by setting down on one of the flanking balconies. These balconies were once places of quiet and solace for those who worked in this tower, fit with benches, water features, a sweeping view of the lake backed by the vast wall that encloses the facility, and a memorial commemorating agents who gave the greatest sacrifice in the line of duty to protect Earth and her people from the very threat now setting down 50 feet away. A sobering reminder that regardless of what we've sacrificed so far, we're still fighting a losing battle. High above the clouds of New Mombasa is the aptly named Windward, set on the rooftop of the New Mombasa Police Department headquarters. Flanked by countless skyscrapers protruding through the murky clouds, owned by various corporations and organizations, many even taller than the NMPD tower, this rooftop was used for emergency evacuation during the invasion. NMPD Pelicans would land at one of the various landing pads scattered around the rooftop, but after a short while, the Covenant caught wind of this and sent Banshees up to patrol above the clouds. During the hysteria at the beginning of the Covenant's invasion of the city, corrupt ex-cop Marshall Glick went into the lobby of NMPD HQ with an assault rifle, murdering 2 cops and taking 2 hostages, Officer Mike Branley and the daughter of the creator of the Superintendent AI, Sadie Endesha. However, shortly after, the lobby was stormed by a SWAT team who killed Glick and saved the 2 hostages. Inside the top floor of the tower are various rooms, all seemingly dedicated to NMPD's Special Operations Branch. However, the entire interior is now ravaged by the alien invaders. Rooms empty, monitors left flickering, and documents left scattered. Previously important case files left on the floor for all to see. Outside, officers had attempted to set up makeshift defenses, including barrels, crates, and mounted missile pods to try and swat the Banshees out of the sky and defend evacuees. All comms within the tower are undergoing a blackout. Whether that was intentional to stop the Covenant from intercepting evacuation chatter, or a consequence of the invasion is unknown, but given the catastrophic ruins of the space tether on the horizon, I'm inclined to believe it's the latter. Located deep beneath the surface of New Mombasa in sub-level 10 of the Superintendent's AI Data Storage Center is Chasm 10, a dark, unsettling mess of catwalks, bridges, and platforms, all suspended high above a pool of some sort of coolant, an underground lake possibly, to ensure that the AI, with its quintillions of calculations per second, doesn't overheat. Within this sublevel is the Superintendent's main data core as well, which the entire facility was built around and also to accommodate. However, at some point, presumably during its construction, a small section of the foreigner portal structure was found, and Oni immediately moved in, constructing the Alpha Site above it to both mask its existence and also to allow them to covertly research this mysterious alien structure. The large majority of those involved with the AI's construction were not informed of the discovery, including Daniel Endesha, its creator, who found out just as the invasion began. Knowing that the Covenant were headed for this mysterious ancient structure, Oni set up makeshift defences in the chasm facing their entry point, barricades, sandbags, crates and turrets, and disabled the elevators to make this chasm as difficult as possible for the enemy to traverse. At some point during the invasion, however, this chasm was transformed into a drone hive. How such a vast thing was created so quickly is totally unknown, but its size and the rate of its expansion is unsettling, to say the least. And at the end of today's road, we have Last Exit, what was once the glorious entrance to the Uplift Nature Reserve. Located directly off one of New Mombasa Coastal Highway's junctions, this grand, majestic entrance once welcomed its visitors like royalty returning to their palace. Grand palm trees, large solid gold statues of Africa's regal zebras flanking the entrance stairs, sweeping views of the almost neo-futurist New Mombasa downtown district, and majestic marble features lining the walls of the interior. This was evidently a place that residents of New Mombasa were proud of. However, given their occupation of the park, the Covenant soon began to overflow into the entrance as well. The now desolate parking lot is controlled by jackals. Grunts and brutes stomp up the stairs beneath the watchful eyes of the zebras, and ghosts patrol the entry road and gazebo. Where families once queued to purchase park entry tickets, friendly snipers now dig in to defend the entrance. Where they would walk to enter the park itself now contains weapon racks, stocked full of pistols, submachine guns, fragmentation grenades, and more. The rapid changes this entranceway has undergone are symbolic of how ruthless and cruel our invaders are, but also how defiant the forces of humanity stand to defend what is theirs.
Prosperity. Liberty. Democracy. Our way of life. Super Earth. Our home.
The crossover of our dreams is finally here. The ODSTs have arrived in Helldivers 2. As the Galactic War rages on, countless brave Helldivers have laid down their lives to protect managed democracy. The war has been a bloody one, and so the call was put out for more recruits, and that call was answered by a special unit within the Ministry of Defense. The ODSTs, or as they're known to the citizens of Super Earth, the Obedient Democracy Support Troopers, are apparently a fabled unit of the Ministry of Defense's military. So much so that every Super Earth citizen had them on their school lunchbox as kids. But now they face a new mission, one that undoubtedly will strike painfully close to home. Not only have they been enlisted to put down the bugs, the bots, and the Illuminate across the galaxy, but many have been deployed to the infamous city of New Alexandria, the crown jewel of the planet Seychelles Beach, which finds itself under aggressive Illuminate invasion. The horrors the Helldivers experienced many moons ago during the war on Malevolent Creek, the Helljumpers are now about to experience tenfold in the streets of New Alexandria. So get your gear and get set for a combat drop to ensure that Super Earth's New Alexandria doesn't meet the same fate as Reach's. Now, hidden throughout this video are two codes. One code for the full Helldivers 2 game, and another code for a VC token to redeem the ODST War Bond, of course, both for free. But you gotta watch the whole video to try and find them. And speaking of gear, let's break down what the Ministry of Defense outfit the ODSTs with. The A9 Helljumper armor is the standard issue ODST armor distributed by the Ministry of Defense, named A9 after the iconic Alpha 9 ODST squad of whom the armor's original wearer was a part of. Yes, that's right. This is the ODST armor of one John Doherty, aka the Rookie, the legendary Lance Corporal who served the ODST with immense bravery and courage under fire. Completing the A9 Helljumper armor is the honoured heirloom cape, emblazoned with the Helljumper logo of the ODSTs. When its honourable wearer meets their untimely demise in the pursuit of managed democracy, the cape is passed down to their bravest child, possibly as a means of encouragement to follow in the heroic footsteps of their father and enlist. The Helljumpers come fit with a variety of bespoke weaponry, fit for a more covert style of spreading democracy, and none are trustier and arguably more iconic than the M6C SOCOM pistol. Complete with an integrated suppressor and compensator, laser light tactical module, and VN SLS V6E smart link scope, the SOCOM is the ultimate sidearm for enforcing peace quietly. Now, what's really cool about the SOCOM in Helldivers is that Arrowhead actually upheld a long-standing tradition among Bungie's games of the Magnums having Japanese kanji engraved into them. On the LAM, you can see the kanji symbols for freedom. Not only is this a subtle reminder, courtesy of Super Earth's Ministry of Defense, as to why you fight, but it's awesome that Arrowhead continued an old Bungie tradition that 343 all but abandoned. But the SOCOM is never complete without its younger, more aggressive brother, the M7S SMG, a 900 RPM PDW chambered in 5x23mm caseless ammunition, and dampened by a non-removable suppressor. The M7S is an extremely reliable bullet hose of an SMG, and is purpose-built to spread freedom to every corner of the galaxy. So, welcome to the first deployment of this video, and as you can see, my loadout is quite possibly the most iconic ODST adjacent loadout I could possibly have. We're rocking the full ODST gear along with the SMG and also the SOCOM. So, let's dive into New Alexandria and try and save it from the fate that it suffered in our universe. Right, welcome to the surface of New Alexandria, and as you can see, it's in much better condition than it was back in Reach, but not for long if we don't stop the Illuminate. Now, if you don't know anything about Helldivers lore, then, well, luckily you maybe came to the right channel. So, the Illuminate are, in a very weird way, essentially Helldivers' version of the Flood. They are the most, infectious out of all of them. I guess the Terminators kind of have some Flood elements as well, but the regular Illuminate, the kind of drones, if you will, like this guy over here, are very combat form-like. So, unlike in, obviously, the Halo universe, where we have to save New Alexandria from the Covenant, well, now we've got to save it from Helldivers' version of the Flood, which, I've got to say, is quite on brand. And I gotta say also, real quick, this SMG is absolutely beautiful, man. It is absolutely beautiful. It sounds awesome. It looks awesome. Actually, using the optic like this just feels so strange in a cool way. I don't know if I'd want that in a Halo game, but using it in a different kind of game just feels really cool. Man, you cannot tell me that the vibes of this game aren't absolutely perfectly fit for a Halo game. The fact that we never got that proposed ODST Helldivers game many years ago, the fact that that was pitched at V43 and turned down is insane to me, because, man, look at this. Switching to the SOCOM as well. Oh, nope, that's the M60. Switching to the SOCOM, dude. I know we've talked about this a lot before, but imagine if that tower was a Flood Spore tower, man. And this was like New Mombasa or something, and we were Alpha 9 sent in to clear the area, which we found out about, I think it was Operation Joint Monitor. Imagine that, but an actual game, dude. There's so much potential for that. You know what? Illuminate might be some ultra-powerful cosmic being, but they have nothing against 5x23mm caseless, let me tell you. This SMG, okay, I was going to say it's tearing through them. It doesn't tear through the armored guys, but the weaker ones, like butter. Dude, the laser on this as well. Oh my god, when you actually see it in the darkness, that's so cool. Using the iron sights on this feels, again, like the SMG, it feels weirdly right. I mean, the reload animation as well, the third person one in particular, where you flick the mag out, looks dope, but dude, we have been deprived of a tactical ODST shooter now for literally ever. This is the closest that we've gotten. This feels more tactical than actual ODST does. Not very tactical, of course, because it is Helldivers, and we are about to call in a 500kg bomb, but it feels closer to what I want. Okay, it's time to call in a 500kg bomb. This is the kind of thing that I imagine the UNSC used on Far Isle, except probably even more powerful somehow. Wait for this bad boy. This is what ODSTs are meant to do. Look at that walkaway shot, dude. Look at that badass walkaway shot. Dude, running around what is literally now New Alexandria in Helldivers as an ODST doesn't even feel real. This feels still way too pipe dreamy. Just how whisper quiet this thing is and how powerful it is at the same time. This feels so perfect, man. Okay, the final harvester. I say whip out the, bit of a different universe, but the Hammer of Dawn for this bad boy. Go, Hammer of Dawn, do this ODST's bidding. What a strange crossover, man. ODSTs in Helldivers using what is essentially the Hammer of Dawn. Man, this game is so cinematic, dude. Having ODSTs in this kind of ultra naturally cinematic setting feels so good. See, that's the exact vibe that I imagine some ODSTs have. I want to see that more. Now that is what Oni did to Far Isle, Jesus Christ. But the Helljumper armor isn't the only set of armor distributed to the Obedient Democracy support troopers. No. The A35 Recon armor is a sleeker, stealthier alternative, complete with the iconic Recon helmet. The armor itself is modelled after an iconic intelligence officer, in fact the pseudo-commander of Alpha 9, Oni agent Veronica Dare, and as such, it's complete with the Eye of the Clandestine Keep, brandishing the all-seeing eye of the Office of Naval Intelligence and wrapping its wearer in secrecy, allowing them to slip away from the light and fight from the shadows, in keeping with the officer's modus operandi. But the ODSTs don't just use their own weaponry. Anything designed by the weaponsmiths of Super-Earth is good enough for the ODSTs, and there is no greater example of an iconic standard-issue rifle than the MA5C assault rifle. The definition of reliable, and having taken down countless aliens hellbent on wiping out humanity already, the MA5C's sights are now turned on the enemies of managed democracy. Complete with an ammo counter and inbuilt compass, this 750 RPM 308 monster is the ultimate bane of any alien bastard daring enough to stand between the ODSTs and enforced freedom. Okay, now it's time for our second deployment and the second loadout of the video, which is going to be, as you can see, the full Recon/Dare look with an MA5C. Now, Dare, for some reason, has been deployed to what is essentially Space Vietnam, so let's waste no more time and dive in. So, here we are, Space Vietnam. Veronica Dare on her newest mission, armed with an MA5C, a very iconic assault rifle, as you all know. I think 308 is probably going to be enough to deal with the bugs, but we'll see. As we all know, though, Veronica Dare's most iconic weapon was hands down the SOCOM, of course, so we gotta use that for a little bit when we're kind of cosplaying as Dare. It would only be right. Something about using this in like a Nam-style jungle feels very fitting as well. But of course, the main show we're here for is the assault rifle, and I've got something very cool to show you guys, actually. Watch this. So in first person, the reload even has, wait for it, the HK slap. Arrowhead even kept the HK slap on the AR's reload when he dropped the bolt. Dude, Arrowhead literally thought of everything. They kept the kanji on the SOCOM, they kept the HK slap on the MA5C. They know Halo. If they made a Halo game, man, oh my god, we would be so back. We would be levels of back that we may never experience normally. A guy can dream. Whoa, okay. I think Dare's legs might be broken, but I'm sure the Mjolnir, or I guess half Mjolnir, will help with that. Man, that laser in the nighttime jungle. Whew. That is such a vibe. Okay, you know what? Let's drop another Havoc tactical nuke on a bug nest. Those poor bugs don't know what's about to hit them. Far out treatment in 3, 2, 1, bang. There you go. Bugs getting the same treatment as Far Out, baby. Another day in the life of an Oni officer covered in blood. How fitting. Remember, switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading, and when it's a SOCOM, it is definitely faster. This bad boy is shredding the bugs. Even the armored ones, man. Holy Christ. Look at that. I forget the rounds this is chambered in. I think it's technically like a pistol caliber 50 cal. But man, for such a quiet sounding gun, this thing does way more damage than it did in ODST, let me put it that way. Okay, raising the missile. This is another missile destined for Far Isle, I assume. This thing feels really accurate in first person, way more accurate than it ever was in Halo, let's put it that way. Especially the MA5C, which is not exactly known for having the greatest range. Missile destined for Far Isle has been launched, now let's evac. Another day in the life of Veronica Dare doing Oni's dirty work. You'll love to see it. Okay, yeah, that's definitely a certified Far Isle moment. What's that? Is that a forklift I see? God damn, dude. if we were in New Alexandria, that forklift would be an absolute vital asset. But thankfully, we're in space Vietnam, so the forklift, it doesn't matter. Man, that animation is clean. The full reload. God damn, that is a very nice animation. Using this thing as like an actual pistol, not in like a Halo style of gameplay, feels very, very cool. Like I said before with the SMG, I wouldn't want this in a main Halo game, but seeing it like this in a different game is so sick. We are in dire need of that tactical ODST game, man. But this next one, a personal favourite of mine, is one that the ODSTs like to keep for close quarters. After 15 years of neglect and abandonment, the true king of shotguns makes its grand return to spread freedom and liberty across the stars. Yes, that's right, the iconic 8-gauge M90A shotgun is back, and boy does it mean business. Coming with rather heavy kick thanks to the 8-gauge shells that it chambers, and also a side-mounted flashlight so you can see the fear in your enemy's eyes before you teach them a valuable lesson about liberty, the M90A is the ultimate hell jumper and hell diver back pocket boomstick. Okay, so our final deployment and final loadout is that of an ODST who likes to keep something special for close quarters. We're rocking the recon body with the ODST helmet and none other than the M90A shotgun. Let's deploy. Okay, and our final deployment is to a rather spooky wood/forest, shall we say. Armed with none other than the iconic M90A, which, yes, has iron sights, which... Using these iron sights right now, this feels illegal in such a good way. I can't even describe it. Anyway, this bad boy is kept for close quarters, so let's go do some killing. Okay, and I gotta say, this map has a real Halo 2 backwash vibe. Real Halo 2 backwash vibe. We are fighting... I mean, this is a very loose association, but we are fighting Helldivers' version of the Prometheans, which doesn't really fit backwash in Halo 2, but either way, man, look at this M90 tearing through them. Look how satisfying this thing is, man. Like, man, why was this thing ever taken out of Halo? I don't understand why they haven't brought the actual classic Halo shotgun back. We got it in Helldivers before we got it in a modern Halo game, man. You know, one of my favorite things about it as well is how in keeping the animations are with Halo. Like, the standard reload, of course, is top-loaded. When you do a full reload, it's like an actual real-life reload where you put a shell in the chamber, and then you load the tube as well, which is a nice little modern flair to the animation. It still feels unequivocally like the Halo shotgun, just with a nice little modern twist. Man, I'm not gonna lie, the bots seem kind of scary. I kind of wish the Prometheans had this level of, like, I don't know, I guess horror? Because the bots in this game have this very creepy, almost like, I don't know, evil look, but in a scary way. Not evil in like a corny way. Evil in like a genuinely intimidating way. And good God, this ODST really does like to keep it for close quarters because he is invincible. Dude, literally nothing can stand the 8-gauge shells of this. Even that big boy. You know what's cool as well? This thing even has range. Look at that. It keeps the range of the Halo 1 shotgun, which was, I believe, just a regular M90. But it's got the style and the flashlight on the side of Halo 3's M90A. Yeah, look at this range. Bang. Automaton down. Automaton down. Automaton. That's how the shotgun should be in Halo. It should have that range. Maybe not that level of power at that range, but it should absolutely have that range. Look at that, man. It's like it's firing slugs. I don't think it's firing buckshot. I'm pretty sure this thing's firing slugs. To have that level of accuracy at that range. Ow. That hurt. Okay, Hellbomb arm. Time to flee the area. You can do some like real Max Payne / John Woo style moves in this game as well. The backwards dive with the M90. Bro. Dude. Tell me, oh my God. Tell me that isn't sick. With the explosion in the background. God, the death effects on the bots with the shotgun are unfathomably satisfying. Seeing all the oil coming out of them as I'm firing. With the top loading animation, man, as well. I will just never get tired of that. We should have never lost this shotgun design. Man, tell me a blood-soaked ODST walking through a foggy forest like this with a shotgun isn't the coolest thing you've ever seen. How can you not want something like this in an official Halo game, man? The vibe of this game, when combined with ODSTs, is just, like, unfathomable, man. It's just perfect. It really is perfect.
And Buck?
Don't worry.
What the word that I can't say for the YouTube algorithm is that? Blasted by the power of smooth jazz. Dude, so much good environmental storytelling in this this mod, and we're gonna ruin it. Watch, Chips, watch. Oh no, rusted one grenade. Oh, why are we spinning like that? Hey guys, welcome back. Yes, you read that title right. Gashnor, the legend behind Cursed Halo 3, has officially returned to bless us with Cursed Halo 3 ODST. I'm so excited for this bad boy. Let's jump right in, as you can see we are doing right now. As always, we're going to watch the intro cutscene just to see if anything's changed. Given the name, Lazy Sunday, I have a feeling something might have, but we'll wait and see. Here we go. Hence why it's called Lazy Sunday. Oh, I see something in the table.
It's Earth. They missed one.
No.
What's he doing at the table? What's he doing? His mirrors this music a little bit different as well. Wait.
At least they listen.
Hold the creature still.
What the?
Come on.
And Buck?
Don't worry.
What? What the? Why is... I'm
What the hell kind of armor was she wearing?
not questioning it.
I don't know, Mickey.
Oh,
Exactly.
what is that? That's a new shotgun.
Oh, brother.
So check your mouths, find your chairs, and get set.
Oh god, the sniper.
What the hell am I supposed to do with this inside a Covenant ship?
What the hell are you supposed to do with it anyway, Romeo? Full stop. Dude, this might be Cursed Halo, but this intro. Oh, every time, man, I get chills every I don't care if it's cursed or not. I get chills every time. Oh, there's visor's definitely a different color. Just noticed that. That intro will never fail to give me chills. Right. Okay, then, so we're going to play the first Mombasa Streets level first, of course, which is called... Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard rumors of Dare's OnlyFans filming in a nearby building, and we've got to go and check it out. Yeah, it's kind of mod we're dealing with right here. Right then, here we go. One mission at a time to find Dare's OnlyFans. Or rather, now this is the story about how my life got turned upside, got flipped upside down. For God's sake, man. Will Smith playable ODST when? Come on, panic and hit all the buttons. Let's pop the hatch. Bang. I always thought that like tap animation was really satisfying. Engaging rookie happy ending sequence. And out we go. What in the... Is that what I think it is? As you can see there, in the bottom right-hand corner, it appears we have a saxophone and, after... Oh my god, Gashnor, for God's sake. Eat more chocolate, I'm good. Press X to become a user. Jesus Christ. Well, it looks like Miami in the 80s. We've got the neon blue. Your visor will make everything go according to plan. Friendly threads appear red. Hang on, so he's flipped it so enemies appear green. Oh, for God's sake. Nah, I'm good. The sensitivity on that. Dude, I gotta try this. So, firing plays 30 seconds of smooth jazz. The Covenant hates smooth jazz. Well, we can do nothing but give him some smooth jazz. Wait. It actually does. It's hard enough, like, playing Cursed Halo, but, like, it overwhelms you so much. There's so much stuff to expect. Like, that, what the... How am I meant to aim that? What the... It's disorientating. I don't know where I am. Well, thankfully, our saxophone has infinite ammo, so, or should I say infinite musical notes? Let's have a look at Miami in the 80s again, or should I say New Mombasa in the 80s? That is actually quite cool, to be fair. That does look pretty cool. And he said that, what was it? Enemies appear in green, because of course they do. Green is that renowned universal enemy color, and red is the renowned universal friendly color. It's actually really good for... Oh, yep, there they are. There. Oh my god, man, I can't aim with this thing. Well, let's see what it does. What the hell did he just throw at me? What the... What? It's firing nothing. You know what, actually? You know what that reminds me of? For any of you who remember, in like COD 4 and World at War, you could spawn the default weapon, they called it, in like zombies and stuff, if you open up the command console or something, and it was always like your character's finger, like that, with a little cowbell on it. I'm assuming that's what this is. Okay, is this, the Earth Rifle? Did we? Oh yeah, I remember that. Although it's now got a custom crosshair. Pretty cool. Incoming Jazz. There we go. Oh shit, I'm almost dead. No, run. I can't lose myself from the Jazz because of the... There it is, still playing. The Covenant want to kill me. Right, the finger gun isn't exactly useful. I picked up a shin protector. Ah. What the fuck? Hang on, why did a load of fusion cores just drop? I don't want to see it. Okay. Your ODST squad went without you. Saw that post on Instagram 20 minutes ago. Oh no, they've left us behind. They've gone to the club without Rocky. How could they do that? Right, is the phone going to be any different? I guarantee it plays a Joe Staten quote. Invite to join. Just jump. What the... Wait, what? Only... What the fuck am I looking at? I'm connecting to AOL. You've got mail. Google Maps will help you find your fastest route. Blue path indicates the fastest path. X to clear your browser history. Cool. What the... Proceed to the beacon and meet a hot singles in your... Dude, this mod is like... Need classified documents unsealed. Call for an Uber. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. All the extra information, like the extra details in Gunnery Sergeant Bucking Bronco. Oh no, missed calls. I'm sure they just forgot. A notification. Oh, there's loading Instagram videos. Overwhelmed by information. All the extra details of ODST and little features that are just being used to their fullest extent in this cursed version. Oh my god. Press up or down for hand holding. I'm not gonna lie, I've got a feeling I'm gonna like this even more than Cursed Halo 3. God, it's actually weird. I can barely see where I'm going. There we go. Why is toggle crouch not on? Which vile demon turned that off? Right, let's send these poor guys flying. Oh, okay, this has definitely had an upgrade in the ODST engine. You've reached the destination. Rerouting. Scanning for any leftover booze or food. Dude, this area, like... If you ever need to see why a Halo horror game would work, this entire, like, tower block is just perfect for it. There's a room up here with a Jackal sniper in it, somewhere. I think it's this one. Yeah, there he is. I mean, it looks a bit scarier when your visor mode actually, like, works like normal, but still. Oh, hello there, Ghost Rifle. Don't mind if I do. Right then, let's find the filming location of Dare's OnlyFans. Oh my god. A Hold RV can finally has recon helmet. Now that's vintage right there. That's vintage. That's what I like to see. Right then, this level is called The Walk of Shame. Your head is pounding, but you have errands to run. Oh my god, this is after their wild night out in the city. Or rather, this is before Rookie's wild night out in the city. Gotta get my chronology right. Waking up after a night of partying in his drop pod, you start walking home. His name is Buck. And he likes to... tend to the underprivileged. What? Oh, okay. It skipped half the cutscene.
We're not getting an answer.
What? Okay, well, I also didn't get an answer. Now I've got an AR that's like a Doom AR. Interesting. What is Buck's hand doing? Let's see what this does. It has 1,200 rounds. No. Okay, that's right. Oh my god, that fires so fast. Maybe I'm just going crazy. What is Buck doing? What's his left hand doing? He's holding it up like he's like making a peace sign or something. Someone had something else actually. There was like a blue gun. The bubble. Okay. And it fires very powerful bubbles, it would seem. Hello, Chips.
You're one lucky SOB.
What's this? What the?
Any more come down?
What in the hell? Fair enough. Dude, so much good environmental storytelling in this this mod, and we're gonna ruin it. We're gonna ruin it with ridiculous weapons. Oh my god. Bro, it's the P rifle. What the? Okay, right, interdimensional marble. Out. Oh, okay. Right, well that's what spawned the fusion cores before. I don't know what is blurring my screen. And goodies from another dimension. Okay, no, never mind. Oh, Chips, you gotta learn the arc on that grenade. Watch, Chips, watch. Oh, no, Rust and Run grenade! Oh, that's fine. Don't worry. This is how you use the grenades in this mod. Whoa, okay, well, Chips just, you know what? He's gotta go for the ride anyway. There you go. Off he goes. Off he goes. You know what, car? Fight for me. Oh, okay. Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. Dude, this will just never get old. I will never get tired of doing it. Okay, that's not the way I wanted it to go, but away it goes. I feel like the physics are even more insane on this version. I can't see anything because the bubbles. It's like I'm permanently underwater. Thank you very much, Jackal. Oh, hang on. Which, Thrust. This is a new carbine. Oh, okay. It's like a projectile-based thing. That's what those purple things are that keep hitting me. Ah, right. It all makes sense now. This just doesn't have a crosshair. I'm assuming because it's meant to be like a Doom weapon. And, of course, the view model. What the word that I can't say for the YouTube algorithm is that? Alrighty then. Oh, shit. Wait, does that move? Hang on. Just one dumb diddly second. Does this move objects? It does. Oh, I kind of want to keep the AR now. Tell you what, instead of the thruster, I'll have the... Why has it got a Taco Bell logo on it? Why is it the... Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Okay, right. What does this do? I can't... My mind, my simple human mind cannot comprehend what just happened. God, that sound. What? Right. What does that do then? So I'm pumping it loads of times. And it fires fire. Okay. Oh, God. It doesn't stop firing fire either. Okay, it just fires loads of fire. Lots of fire. I can't tell you how much that is trying to recoil. I was like yanking my analog stick down just then, trying to stop that from... And watch this. No recoil control. It's quite some recoil. Where are those hunters? I want to see that gold hunter. And what the hell Gashnor has done to it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a rainbow hunter. Okay. It's a very bright one. Okay. Oh, hello. That is one powerful hunter. That hunter is like jet black. I'm not sure if it's the lighting or if it's like some Oni hunter or something. What the? Oh, what the? That hunter beam pulls you towards it. I really hope I can use that as a weapon. That's cool. There's just so... What is happening to my game? It's like I've got like an old CRT monitor and I've just held a magnet up to it. Right, so I need to not stand in that beam. I'm trying... Is it dead? What the fuck is that? Bro, it's the Dark Matter Cube from Toric Evolution. Oh no, don't kill me. Yes. Hope you... For God's sake. Can I not take the weapon? Oh, damn it. That was wishful thinking, to be fair. Onwards and upwards. Hold RB to experience a weirdly edited cutscene. Oh, dear God.
No, I don't know what it was. Just like it did the captain. Negative.
What the fuck? What? Is this going over my head or something? Am I missing something? What the hell did I just experience? Okay, well, scratch that. It appears that the other Mombasa Streets levels don't work, so straight on to Uplift Reserve, called Day at the Zoo. You enter the park to reserve your safari hovercraft. Oh, good God. Pull the sheets up and cover their head for a Dutch... What? Oh, now that is one flashy Spartan laser. Oh, we've got the saxophone, baby.
Trooper, over here. Help us secure this vehicle.
What would that vehicle be, Stacker? Right, let's have a look at this. The Bayou Warthog. Bayou? Oh, God, this is going to handle like ass, isn't it? Okay, actually not too bad. Well, oh, God, this thing goes very fast. Oh, God, and it bounces really well. Oh. Holy shit, let's take out that Wraith. God, sensory overload. I know what to do. Away, yes! Away with you! Oh, God, the dinghy! No! We lost the dinghy! Oh, God. We lost everything by the looks of it. Good God. I wonder how the Wraith responds to smooth jazz.
Let's do this, Trooper.
Oh, my God, it actually destroys it. Oh, those thruster carbines are hurting, but smooth jazz prevails. This thing is quite satisfying to drive, actually. Come on. Oh, God, we're spinning. Oh, why are we spinning like that? We're doing donuts. Oh, God, that's not good. Impossible to feel stressed out when you've got the jazz gun. What am I on about? Oh, God, it has very good physics effects as well. Yes, blasted by the power of smooth jazz. My God. Oh, my Lord. Oh, he's, what? He's doing the Halo 2 brute thing. You know what? I'm going to leave you to just explore Mombasa by yourself. That's the wrong way. Oh, shit. This thing has absolutely no braking system. The only way to brake this thing is by driving it into a concrete wall. No. Oh, why did I try and ram a chopper head first? I'm not going to do it again. Oh. Do not take this epic elevator ride. Oh, wow, I actually somehow got it. Rest in peace, Dingy Warthog, but you know what? We don't need it anymore. I gotta say, the smooth jazz overlaid by, I forgot what this track's called. It's not air traffic control, obviously. It's like that, though. It sounds very weird. It clashes quite a lot. Oh, dare we try? Well, here we go. Right, that's enough of that. That's enough for getting permanently disorientated. No, we lost all the ammo in the Spartan laser. Right, what have we up here? There's not many snipers up here. Yes, it is. What a beautiful sounding weapon. Been trying to reach you about you. Are we just gonna take this? Right, off we go. Which way is it? I gotta try and remember. Here we go. Very cool set piece incoming. That's why you don't ride the elevator. Always take the stairs, my friends. Always take the stairs. I can't wait to see all my favorite zoo animals. They may not be there. Go inflate an air raft. Oh, God, that's not a good sign. I've also realized as well, you can't splatter with this. There is no splattering because it goes too high. It's like the Halo 1 Ghost. It hovers really high, so you can't really splatter anything. I want to see that brute try and fire the sniper. Go on, 1v1. 1v1. No. Oh, Jesus Christ. Right, you know what, brute? Oh, okay, well, never mind. I was going to give him some smooth jazz, but I guess he's more of a blues guy. Let me give that race some smooth jazz. He just can't stand it. Look at it. It's the antidote to wraiths, to flipper wraiths. Smooth jazz. Oh, God, it has boost. I forgot it has boost. I forgot about that. Here we go. Boost ahead. When it eventually gets going. No, no, no. Oh, God. Oh, there we go. I want to see this in the cutscene. The hell is that? Oh, it's a regular warthog. God damn it. It's worth a try at least.
Was that a yes or a no?
And there you have it.
Amen.
Amen. Amen indeed, Dutch. Amen indeed. There you have it.